Hi, Jeremy. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. How are you?
How's your I was gonna ask you how you're doing.
I'm doing excellent. I was actually in Knuff Lake today, which a lot of people wouldn't know, but it was the first commercial deal I ever did. It was a fishing resort. And so
Oh,
I'm going back up there 5 years later was kind of neat just to see what they've done and how it's changed, and kind of felt like a little homecoming actually, because it was a big sale and it was a unique sale. So it took us almost 3 years to sell it. So we got pretty
whoa.
close during that time. And yeah, it was kind of like get to come back up and see everything. So it was neat.
And can you place us on the map where that might be?
Yeah, so if you know where Kamloops is, and then you're going to Sun Peaks, about halfway to Sun Peaks, you'd take a left and you'd veer off to Knuff Lake. And then there's the wilderness resort that's on there. That's the one. And then the owners, the ones that I met with today, they actually live on the other side of the resort. So they're still up there. And it was
Nice.
just, I haven't been up there in a while. She's really into art. She's a really good artist. And I had
Oh,
actually, when she sold, I bought a piece of art for her, and I commissioned it, and I had no idea about art. So I hired someone thinking they were going to do like a realistic photo. And the backstory of it is that she said that when she first was doing the resort, it took them 20 years to build it. And they went out on the boat and they looked back and she could see it from that site of what it was going to be. And then that started a 20-year thing of them building this entire resort. So we went out on the boat to get that shot of where she looked back on it. And so he took that, gave it to an artist, didn't realize that she was an abstract artist. So when it came back, it was like completely different than I thought it would look like. It looked nothing like the resort, but it was like really kind of cool. And as an art person, or not an art person, I didn't know. So anyway, I finally brought it up to her because we've been meaning to link up, and she loved it. She found a place for it on the wall right away. It was kind of neat.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Actually, I was just saying the other day that one of my favorite gifts for sellers, especially like if they're RCMP members or something, when they're moving from one town to the next. And if I was their listing agent, and sometimes even just for fun, I would get them commissioned a painted picture of their house. And that was something they could take with them.
Yeah. Well, if there's a sentimental reason behind it, it's pretty cool because it's something they look back on with a smile.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, it's definitely getting colder, so it probably was nice fall colors and everything. I'm wearing like the fluffiest, biggest sweater that I could find.
I like it. It's that
Yeah.
time of year. I was wearing pants. I haven't worn
Yeah.
pants yet, and I wore pants for the first time in a while. So it's starting to cool
Yeah.
down a lot. She actually had to give me a jacket because we went and checked out the property, and so yeah, I'm I'm
It's
slowly
always
getting into
colder on
fall.
the water.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That was
If
it
you're
was big time.
Yeah, totally. Our topic for today, I was thinking, I mean, it's kind of come up in conversation and how we could use it. AI. How about we tackle a little bit of AI today? When I say that, AI, artificial intelligence, what are your first thoughts that pop into your mind?
Well, now I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of opportunity. I've come around to the AI train. When it was first starting to come out, I was obviously nervous about it. I thought that was gonna replace some of the humanness that people were using it all for their write-ups, and all the write-ups were starting to sound the same. There's a lot that it can do that actually makes you more valuable. I actually heard it explained this way, and I think this is so brilliant. I wish I remembered who said this so I could give him credit, but basically, if you look at what the internet did for artists, it gave them the ability to self-produce music, get out your own audiences. We're doing a podcast that used to be totally for just radio, and now all of a sudden it opened up where everybody could compete with radio, and some of the biggest podcasts are competing with radio and beating them by a long shot. AI is the next evolution of that, where what used to be reserved for just big business with big budgets, what's allowing the average business owner to compete with the big corporations by having these AI advantages. I think you're actually able to do more with less.
I honestly think that's true too, but not to date myself too much. I actually had my hands on a computer that operated on DOS at one point in time, like way back in the day. And by no means did I need to learn to code or input prompts in such a sophisticated way like some of my friends got very good at. I almost think that for the whole jump on board for the AI train, lots of those really useful pieces are just going to be embedded in a lot of our programs that we've decided to use. I think that's maybe even where it's the most useful for me currently.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's like all the other programs that are out there, every AI has its strengths and its weaknesses. And so you're seeing Everybody's got their own kind of AI that they're rolling out in these different programs. But it
Mhm.
seems like at this point, and things can change so fast. That's what's the funny thing about talking with AI. But it seems like a combination is what's really starting to create some unique things when you're using different AIs together and linking them with something like a Zapier. You can get a lot done with it, and that's what I've been playing with lately quite a bit, is figuring out how to make them all kind of work together so that all their strengths can come out in one finished process.
I was just going to ask you for like, how about we use one practical example, but let's use Zapier as an example. Let's say someone who has decided to watch this episode and knows absolutely nothing about that, what Zapier is. What tell us about it. How's it helping your everyday tasks?
Sure. So Zapier it's been around for a long time, but it's basically an in between. So if you think about everything, and this is before AI, but every program was kind of linked in their own program. So like Gmail's in Gmail. If you use like different websites, they're within their own website. Zapier started creating bridges, so they do what are called zaps. So you can have it where one program that you're doing integrates with Zapier, and as soon as that's triggered, it will zap and it'll send a piece of information to another program and have it control a function. Then, as soon as that function is done, it'll zap and then it'll go back to Zapier and it'll connect with another. So if you think about it like a big neural network, is how it kind of it works. I'm playing with it on very basic stuff right now. For instance, I wanted to start writing a blog, so I actually asked ChatGPT, if I link you with Zapier, what can you do for me? And it gave me the prompts and everything. So basically, now what you could do is have on a certain date, Zapier zaps ChatGPT and says, "Okay, look at all the local stories right now and create 5 different blog posts." And then as soon as those blog posts are done, it can actually send that now back through Zapier to your website, and it can automatically post that stuff. Or what I have it set up is that it'll actually go to your Gmail, and then you review it in a Gmail. And then when you respond to the Gmail, it'll zap again back to Zapier, and then it'll post it for you on the website. So you can link all these different things. If you really trusted your AI, you could just have it where it's just writing blog posts for you. It's totally SEO optimized, and it's just doing it automatically on whatever day you want. The biggest thing that I'm trying to get it to do now is I'm trying to figure out how it can actually enhance the client's experience. So, but where I'm trying to find the balance is everything that I've got right now is stops in my email. It gets created as a draft. I always want final review, and I always add my own to it. I'm always kind of crafting it a little bit on my own.
I think that's really smart. I partially because one of the things that I've noticed is that personally pages that I have followed for quite some time, when I started to notice that it looked like it was AI that was putting out too much content, I started to unfollow some of those pages. And I do think that's because there is something about the personal touch. I do think that there is something about how I wasn't finding as much value without it being that person's opinion necessarily. So I think having the final say on what goes out is really smart.
Yeah, and there's some stuff that I just won't write on AI because of the impact of it. For instance, I do a lot of Instagram posts and TikTok and stuff like that, but mostly on Instagram. I will never let AI write a caption for me on Instagram because social media is getting so watered down with all this AI that's actually affecting the platform's ability. We don't want to interact with AI. I don't want to talk to a robot. So what you're actually seeing is that Instagram and a lot of these other social places, when they're able to, they're not showing AI content as much as others. So your post can actually be penalized by writing an AI write up, because as soon as it gets flagged as that, you're going to lose a bunch of your viewership. There's a place for AI, but we don't want to interact with it. I have an autoresponder that responds to people when they inquire about things. And a lot of them have been asking me, is this Jeremy or AI? And I'll be like, oh, that was just an autoresponder, but it's Jeremy. Oh, okay. And then they'll talk to me. They won't respond to the autoresponder. They can feel it. They're like, this isn't a real person. We're going to find some equilibrium in the middle. I think there's areas where you still want that human touch because we value that.
I totally agree. And I personally have asked, especially if it's a text response that I'm getting back, am I talking to a real person? Am I
Yeah.
talking to AI? On the flip side of that, something I used to have to deal with a fair amount was spam callers to my phone. And I use a Google phone, and now it has an option where I can have Google pretend like it's my secretary, and it'll say, "Hi, I'm Sherry's assistant. I'm making sure that this call is going to be paid attention to in the right kind of care. what is this regarding? And then
Yeah,
it has this little prompt that I set out, and then if it's a real person, they'll answer, and if it is just a spam caller thing like I was getting too many of, then I can just ignore it.
that's cool, right? Yeah, I
It's
know
really
that
cool.
there's so many cool things like that too that we can use. I use ChatGPT. I use a few different ones, but ChatGPT is the one that I always seem to just go to. It works really well. I created one of my chats because I have the plus, so you can create folders. Do you use ChatGPT?
I do. I mean,
Okay.
lightly, but I do.
Okay, so you can create folders, and within each folder, you can start different conversations and you can have different instructions in each of those folders. So I have one called my mentor, and the instructions I gave was really clear. I was like, I do not want you to be a yes man. I don't want you to tell me everything I do is awesome. I want you to act as my mentor. And as my mentor, I want you to give me real advice based on facts. If I tell you an idea and it's a bad idea, I want you to tell me why it's a bad idea. If you think something's a good idea, I'd still like you to give me idea or options of how I could make it better. I just want almost like a mirror is how I was like be honest with me, 100% facts. And I love it because the way ChatGPT was before for me was very like, "Oh, that's the greatest idea ever." Now when I go into mentor so I said, "I'm thinking about going back on the radio. Do you think in today's day and age that's a good idea?" And before it would have been like, "Yes, that's awesome." And now it was like, "No, based on what you've told me, you're getting the same amount of reach or more on Instagram. Instagram's the new radio. And realistically, based on your goals, it doesn't seem like it would make sense because on radio, you will rent your audience, meaning you have to keep paying for it for them to distribute. On social, you're going to own your audience. So as a long-term play for the same amount of effort, you can own your audience. So why go back to renting? And I just thought that was
Whoa.
really cool because that's like really good advice. I had another one I did was I asked it to analyze my business and tell me where the main flaws are of things I've been experiencing in the business. And it nailed it. It understands, I'm putting in stuff all the time about what I'm doing and it sees the holes, but you have to prompt it to tell you, what are you seeing that's the biggest problem? For me, right away, it's like you need to get more listings because before a lot of my business was coming from sign calls and that kind of stuff, but I got kind of enthralled with the development. Well, the development doesn't have the same effect as having 25 or 30 signs out in the community. And
Mhm.
so it used a term that I thought was really cool, saying when you were on the radio, people were hearing you all the time. So you're kind of subconsciously in people's minds. For me, that's where I see the power of AI right now is that it's like you have this kind of co-pilot that can give you some insights. I think it was Simon Sinek that said, nobody wants perfectionism. Like if you get in a fight with your wife, and you go to ChatGPT and it tells you the perfect thing to say, and you say it to your wife, and she goes, "Wow, where did you learn that?" And it's like, "Oh, ChatGPT made told me to say it." They don't want the perfect answer. We're humans. We're flawed. That's how we connect.
Genuine one.
The genuine one. So I look at it as like, okay, how can I got this copilot that can give me some self reflection, but I still have to, take it onto my own account to ask the right questions, look at what I need to be self reflective and more use it like a mirror to help me maybe see
Right.
some areas that maybe other people that are close to you wouldn't be as comfortable telling you.
That's a really good point, actually, is that it does give you, like, a non-biased feedback, which I wasn't really thinking about it for. Uh, I think one of the areas that I was really looking at it is and where I've been thinking of utilizing it more and more as much as possible, is to do the tasks I like the least, which is, like, process my the receipts for me, like, teaching it how to do different tasks that I'm not into, making up chore charts for my kids, like, making up
Yeah.
the things that take legitimate time that I don't really want to be spending the time doing that every week or every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And that's, I think, how a lot of people use it. But I do, for me, I've been getting some of the best results out of it just from asking it to objectively look at me, look at what
Mhm.
I am, ask questions if you don't have enough information, and just tell me where the holes are. And it's funny because it's very smart, right? It's like
Mhm.
having a really strong psychoanalysis friend that's just like right there that can kind of break into that stuff. So like I've had times where I'll be focusing on like a project or something like that and I'll feel like I'm just kind of blocked or I don't have any energy to go into it and I'll just say like this is what I'm doing and this is how I'm feeling and can you just help me come up with some different ways that I could maybe do this same task but not feel so drained afterwards. And it'll pick apart like different things like, oh, like what times of day are you doing it? It just gives you good insights. It's like getting stats on
Mhm.
yourself where you can really be like, oh, okay, maybe I need to adjust this.
Well, I'm really glad that we picked this as the topic today. I do have one more question for you too. But now I personally am going to go and look at different ways that maybe I could be having my AI files looking back at me and giving me a little bit more insight into maybe how I'm spending my time or where I should be focusing in the future.
Yeah.
That's super great advice. I mean, in the topic of AI too, I do also write a column for the Haida News, and one of them was called "We'll Make Great Pets." 'Cause, way back in the day, I feel like when AI was first being spoke about in my realms, a number however many years ago, there was so much fear that it would take over, but the topic of my, cute little article was about, well, maybe it should. Maybe it's the unbiased thing that will, solve all the world's problems. But so now just for the last few minutes that we have, just stepping just a little aside from AI, the other topic that I had today was for marketing. When you wanna get out there, I know that you'd mentioned Instagram, but is there any tips on topics or content or how you get out there, like what kind of activities you might be doing to get back up to the 20, 30 listings that you might want to be at?
Yeah. So for me, this has to do with perspective. I think as soon as you put focus in, and this is where I will tell anyone that's listening that's a realtor, um, it doesn't matter where the market's up, the market's down. I've gone away from this many times, tried different things. At the end of the day, it comes down to the number of listings you have. It's the key factor, and whether those listings are selling. That's a big part, obviously. So you got to have some skill set to be able to list the property, price it well. So I'm not just saying take a whole bunch of overpriced listings, but I've tried tracking offers written. I've tried tracking numbers of doors knocked on. I've tried everything. I've like every lead measure you can think of. But the only lead measure that really results in the leg measure is the number of listings you have. The more listings you have, the more opportunities you have, the more buyer calls you get. Everything kind of focuses from that. So for me, I'm like, okay, I need to get back to 25 listings. It's an easy number. So then from there, now you just have to figure out, well, where am I going to find these 25? And right now in this market, there's a lot of for sale by owners that are having a hard time selling. There's a lot of expired listings that are coming up, especially before summer or right before fall. There's lots of people that want to move but don't know that they want to move different areas. So for me, my strategy is going to be for sale by owners and expireds, calling past clients, doing evaluations, because you can do a lot of rapport when you're sitting across from someone giving them a number on their place. So I'm going to be going back through my past clients, offering that, picking different areas of town. One I'm gonna farm because I haven't done that in a while, and then I'm also going to start door knocking some areas around my current listings and areas where there's just real high watermark sales, like out of the normal sale volume. And then you can knock on the door and say, "Hey, did you notice what Janice's place just sold for? I think there's a big opportunity in the area. I was just looking for some other people I could do business with." So if you know that the goal is to get listings, then it's a little easier to figure out what works for you. And that's what's always worked for me is just direct solicitation till I get to that 25. And then what you'll notice is once you get to that 25 has always kind of been that magic number for me. Then all of a sudden more calls come in. It gets a little bit easier. You're doing just listed, just solds around your listings. You're doing open houses. You're getting to know the neighbors and it just naturally grows. But you got to get to that inventory. And because of my development, I dropped down to, I think I'm at 7 right now. I got 24 apartments for the building and then 7 listings. And that's just not enough to get the
Mm,
kind of volume that I'm looking to get. So that's my plan
right,
is to focus on direct solicitation. Old
right,
school.
yeah. Old school. Well, in the vein of old school, I do really believe that real estate also has a lot to do with the conversations and the meetings and sitting down and the personal touch and all of the things that you can't quite do with AI yet. And
Yeah.
getting out there face to face with people actually makes such a big difference.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because even just sharing your goals with people. I do a thing where I call 5 a day, 5 days a week. I've got some friends that do it, and we have to make 5 calls to 5 people a day, or you have to e-transfer $5 over. And those calls can be past clients, sphere of influence, anyone. It's just 5 people that you're going to contact, it's been having such a big impact on just touching base with clients, building the business up. And not just me, the other realtors as well. But what I was going to say is that because my focus is on finding listings now, those conversations are becoming even more effective because you're iron focused on anything that's going to get you a listing. So I think I told you this story, but I'll tell it quickly on this part. I had a
Please.
client I had a client that I called, and we just hadn't connected in a while, and he was on my list of my 5. So I asked him how things were going. We were talking. I was like, "Are you guys gonna move? Yeah, any plans to move?" He's like, "No, we're never moving. We love it out here." I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's an awesome area. There's not much out there. In fact, I was hoping to get some listings. Do you know any of your neighbors? Anyone out there has been talking about listing?" He's like, "Yeah, funny you should say that. Mike, 2 doors down, is thinking about selling his place. He is actually offering it to us. He's got a cabin on it. It's beautiful." I was like, "Do you think Mike would care if I just knocked on his door and introduced myself? If he's going to list, I'd like to meet him." And just like, "No, he's an ex-RCMP. He'll either love it or he'll shoot you." One of the two. And I'm like, "Okay, well, hopefully he's nice." So I got off the phone, and where Jeff lives is 25 minutes outside of my area, and I had an appointment in an hour. I'm like, "Okay, I can make it. I'm going to go right now, knock on the door, because you don't know when these guys are going to list." So I got on that road. I got down 25 minutes. I get to Jeff's house, and I look in all directions, and I realize I didn't ask which direction. He said 2 doors down, and I was just like, I got to get out of here and go find Mike. So I tried calling Jeff back. He'd already gone back to work. And I'm like, well, what do I do? I got 5 minutes before I have to head back, or I'm going to be late for my appointment. So I just went and took a bunch of business cards, and I just said, "Please call me" on my business cards. And I just spammed the whole neighborhood, just looking for Mike.
Perfect.
And about 4:30, the calls started coming back. I said, "Are you Mike?" "No." "Okay." And then we had a good laugh with the neighbors. Like, I'm looking for Mike. And they're like, "No, Mike's down the road." They all knew who he was. Anyway, 4 calls later, I got Mike, and he is listing. And I wasn't quick enough. He had just listed with another realtor, but he's like, "I like that hustle. I'm giving him 90 days. If he doesn't make it happen, I'm going to keep your card and reach out to you." But it was just one of those things that when you're looking at listings, you have those conversations. Now you're paying attention of, like, when people drop something like that, and you're gonna
Hmm.
move on it, right? You're not gonna hesitate. So focus on the
Right.
listings, and you'll find the opportunities.
Totally. Well, and maybe you'll find a buyer for that property, or maybe one of the other people who called you back from the card is going to remember you in a few weeks or months when they want to list.
Oh yeah, it made an impression for sure. It made an
Yeah,
impression.
that's great.
Yeah.
I will listen to that story again if you ever want to tell again. It's super motivational.
That's awesome.
Um, well, I think that was a lot of really great advice, and I like any other AI things that come up that seem useful or of benefit or are helping you out. Then I'll want to hear those in the future too.
Yeah, yeah, we can bring it up again. It's a big topic.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me virtually again today,
Yeah, thank
and
you.
these are always fun episodes, and I look forward to the next one.
Me too. This is awesome. Okay, bye guys.
See you. Have a good week. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah.